Right, so I had the urgency. I had the urgency to do this today. I had the urgency to. I felt an urgency to do this today. It's the 26th of November 2022. Guns N' Roses are performing tomorrow at Sentimental Park. I wanted to get this done today before the gig, before the concert. I actually did this. I'm going to talk about this album today. This is my original copy of it from when I purchased it in 1991. I believe I purchased this in 91 when the CBD I purchased it. My original copy. Yes. We take it out of this. I actually did this review a few years back now when I was just starting my channel. It was quite rough around the edges. I've considered putting it up. The lighting was fairly miserable, and it was about the 10th thing I'd filmed, and I didn't have quite enough confidence in front of the camera at that point. I actually did speak about this back in 2019, and I've contemplated putting the video up a few times, but it's just a little bit rough around the edges. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. I am going to talk about a very particular album. I was just in the dining room, and I'm thinking, will I do it? Will I do it? Should I go and talk about it? Should I wait? Should I just? I listened to I was listening to nothing but this particular band for years on end, years. And the singer, who I idolized in a way, worshipped, hung on his every word. And once again, this album came to me at the end of my high school years. It's just in here. It was outside of high school, and I heard about this CD here, which I purchased late last year. It's the anniversary edition. Here it is. This CD here. Oh, which is not opened yet, by the way. I actually haven't heard this. I can't really comment about this. I haven't heard it. And because the shrink wrap is still on it, but I haven't heard. However, I can talk about this, which is my original copy, which I purchased this in 1990 after getting out of high school. And this is the same copy. This is that very copy which I don't remember where I bought. I don't remember where I bought this. I don't remember where I made the purchase. I went into the CBD one afternoon or one morning. This might have been from HMV at the time. I don't think I got it from Utopia. May have bought it from HMV. My only copy. I've never replaced it. Like I've actually never bought it. That's not a word. My original copy. And this, I'm just going to speak about it in my own way. All I can do is speak about this in my own way. Well, I actually haven't heard this album. This could have been. It's been a while since I've heard this album. Anywho, so all I'm thinking at the moment, I'm not lost for words or hesitating or anything like that. I'm just thinking, where would I begin with this history? Where would I begin? Well, let's start somewhere in high school, somewhere about year 10, walking down the corridor, seeing the school kids come toward me with a t-shirt with a cross on it, 5 faces and a cross on it. What's that? And then curious about it. And then one night, it was probably the radio. I think it was probably very much the radio. And opening riff of Welcome to the Jungle came on. I'm like, I was just around the edges. So this is my copy. I just had an urgency about this. I thought I'd just film it today. I'll do it today. It's been on my mind for a while to do this, and of course, because a part of a major reassessment, I had a big reassessment of things a few months ago, and I think now is a really good time to do this because I feel about a year ago I was coming from a very different point of view on things, a very different point of view. I purchased this in late 2018. about a month after it came out, $25 JB Hi-Fi. No, $20. It was $20, and I haven't opened it yet. The shrink wrap. The shrink wrap is still on it. I can't really speak about this version. They're both similar. I haven't opened it. I haven't heard this. I'm going to very soon, actually. And this one on this side has it's just got outtakes, B-sides. It has some goodies here, some very interesting things here, like Shadow of Your Love, which I've heard a few times, and I did the magnifying glass to see this actually, but it's got some stuff from GNR Lies on it, and it's live stuff and session things, and I would say that this, my intention is to open it soon. So I could open it on my camera. Okay, so let's see. Hold this up for the time being. Now, so Midnight Charlie Man, Patrick here, and today I will talk about. I'm going to speak about this album today. Now, this all started my journey with Guns N' Roses. I had a big major reassessment. I'm wondering where I'll start. Had a major reassessment of things a few months back now, probably about in August. Well, I was just starting, okay, in 1988, about 1987, 1988, in year 10, and we'd walk the corridors of the day, and there'd be the other kids in my form, and they were wearing Iron Maiden t-shirts, and Dio t-shirts, and Ozzy t-shirts, and Black Sabbath t-shirts, and Anthrax t-shirts, and Metallica t-shirts, Slayer, and Whitesnake, and David Lee Roth, and that was every day at high school. And one day in the corridor, as I was walking in the corridor of high school, I saw a couple of kids who were my age at the time wearing this t-shirt. They had this t-shirt, a cross with 5 faces on it, and I was like, what is that? I was very interested. I was fascinated by it. I was curious about it. I wanted to know. I didn't know what it was. And then, and the kids in high school. I'm just going to put this down for a moment. I bought this. I'll get this later. So I wanted to know what was going on. And the kids in high school, some metalheads are generous, some are not. These metalheads in high school, a lot of them weren't generous. They kind of, they looked at me, they chuckled. I eventually asked one or two of them a few questions, but they didn't let me in on things. So at home on the weekend, before I was old enough to go out, Richard Wilkins, and also there was Rage, I watched Rage. Rage! Now, so home on the weekends, and Richard Wilkins introduced Welcome to the Jungle. And then he introduced Welcome to the Jungle, and so it was the first time I heard the opening, the first time I heard Sweet Child of Mine. That's what really got me, because up until then, I listened to a lot of top 40 stuff, a little bit of Iron Maiden, without knowing who they were, Black Sabbath, and a bit of Kylie Minogue, all the top 40 stuff that was happening in the charts at the time is what I was listening to, and I greatly enjoyed a lot of it, Madonna, and Dire Straits, and In Excess, and Midnight Oil, and also a lot of American stuff, which I greatly enjoyed. And then but the first time, that after seeing those t-shirts at school, at high school, and then the first time that I heard Sweet Child of Mine, I was taken. That was it for me. That was when I heard Axl's voice. It was my musical home. I felt like I found my musical home. It was like I was in heaven, in a sense, musical heaven. And when I heard Slash's guitar and that tone, well, I didn't think that tone at all. I was just like, I like the guitar. I like that voice. Feel like going home. And then I heard Welcome to the Jungle. And now, Guns N' Roses Live at the Ritz '88 premiered on MTV. I taped it on VHS. I've still got the VHS. I taped it on VHS, and just checking that live. I taped it on VHS, and I've still got the VHS. And what happened was, I recorded it on VHS off MTV, and I watched that concert. I watched it all the time, every day for about 6 months. So I didn't actually hear this at the time. 1989. So that was 1989. When I left high school, I'd watch that concert every day for a few months. Then I went out and bought Appetite. I bought Analyze the same day. I think I went to the city. So went into the city. I don't know where I bought it from. I went to the Sydney CBD. It might have been Utopia. Memory's vague. Might have went to Utopia to buy it. When Utopia were at, where were Utopia in '91? Were they in the eastern? Not Sussex Street. George. About a block down from George. Not Martin Place, but the other one. And so I bought it, and I started listening to Appetite. But the thing is, that was my musical home. It was my musical home. I decided they were my favourite band, and that was it. I was complete. It's not embarrassing, because over the years perspective does change. I was completely taken in. I was completely taken aback by Axl. In fact, actually, to me, the band was Axl, Slash, and Duff. Mainly Axl and Slash, and the other guys weren't invisible, but Axl, Slash, and Duff, Axl, Slash, and I became obsessed. I became very obsessed. And I would watch GNR live at the Ritz every day, and I would listen to Appetite every day. And then news of the oh, have I got it upstairs? Where do I keep it? Oh, I can pause this. I can't pause it too. I'm going to have to make a new video. I'll do it as an insert. So what happened was, news of the Use Your Illusion albums. News of the Use Your Illusion albums advertised 6 months in advance. And what I did is I went into Sydney CBD, and I went to HMV, and I bought You Could Be Mine, the single on cassette tape. I've still got it. And actually, in fact, when after Illusion albums came out, about a month later, I was in the Sydney CBD one day, and I came across this. I've parted ways with this for a long time, but I'm not going to go into that right now. You can actually look up the video. I parted ways with this. It's a few videos back now. Parted ways with this. Go into it. Well, it's not the same copy, but it is a very just as good copy. And this is the back. See, this is the back. And very proud of this purchase. And this one's got a serial number on it too. See the serial number. So, and the back. Yes. So, now, when the Illusion out, I've been listening to Appetite all the time. All the time I was listening to it. I watched GNR the Ritz. I listened to Appetite. I bought You Could Be Mine, the single when it came out. Okay. So these are upstairs. Now. So I went into the city. I went to the city to get this. 1990, I went into the CBD to get this. Plastic still on it. Oh, it's been opened just. And I listened to this every day. I was listening to this every day before the Illusion albums came out. And I have this. Okay, this as well. And I have this. It's probably worth about $10,000 each. Right now, these are probably worth about $10,000 each. Or maybe not. Probably 10. Oh yeah. Now, $10,000. No, maybe not worth that. Maybe about $9,000. So we sell these, take out a mortgage. Now, I would listen to You Could Be Mine every day until the Illusion albums came out. And the Illusion albums came out. Went into the Sydney CBD, bought Illusion 1 and 2, still got them. They're over there in the CD rack. I'll show them to you. It's got sticky tape over. I couldn't see anything, but look, I'll show you. Look, if you can. Look, this is my CD rack. Where is it? Where is it? Use Illusion 1 and 2. Here. Use Illusion 1 and 2. Use Illusion 1 and 2. You can see them just there. You can see that sticky tape, which has been there for a year. So use Illusion 1 and 2. I think you can pretty much make that out. Oh, this is getting heavy. Okay. One moment. It's no CD thing. Now, so they're my original copies. And what happened was when you put the Use Illusion albums home, I listened to them. I listened to them constantly every day, almost in a sense setting Appetite. That was very heavy to lift up. Setting Appetite aside for a while, and I focused completely on Axel and the Illusion albums. And the thing was, when I sat down, that took a little bit out of me, a little bit of lifting. The thing is, when I'm not good at heavy lifting, I'm a bit winded. As I was listening to the Illusion albums, listening to Illusion 1, some of the songs, I was like, oh, this song's okay, it's okay. But in my brain, I insisted on listening to all the album the entire way through. Some songs I get to and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit through this. I'll sit through it. My brain was telling me it was because of my severe OCD at the time. And all the way through. And usually Illusion 2 all the way through. I would do this every day back to back, and for about 3 or 4 months, and then I would do this. And in retrospect now, thinking back about this now, I think what would have been better to do at the time in retrospect was saying to myself, okay, half these songs are good. I'm enjoying half this album. So those other songs, I don't really feel I need to listen to. And there's other bands out there. And that's not what I was thinking at the time. But in retrospect, okay, half this is a good album, it's fun, it's enjoyable, great. And I might just listen to other things, but I was just listening constantly. And then 1993, Eastern Creek, Guns N' Roses came out here, Skid Row opened. And it was a big day. It was a big day. In fact, actually, what happened 3 to 4 months into listening to Illusion albums back to back all the time, I said to Frank, I told him what I was doing. He said, dude, you can't do that. You'll burn yourself out. I burnt myself out. I'd been listening to nothing. I'd been listening to nothing but Guns N' Roses, the Illusion albums, for a few months on end. And he said, you can't do that, that's not healthy, you can't do that. And so overnight, I stopped listening to Guns N' Roses. Overnight, I just moved on. So I was interested in the day when Eastern Creek came along, and Guns N' Roses came out here in 1993. A really hot day too, by the way. So Eastern Creek, Guns N' Roses, 1993, and not that I wasn't completely into it, but I thought, at that point, I was still in not listening to GNR mode. I wanted to go that day. Actually, I was like, oh, I haven't been in a crowd of 100,000 people all at once. So I went. It was a good fun day, and I left Guns N' Roses alone for a while after I had such burnout on Earth. I think it was a few years later. Actually, I think it was when I was working at Secret World Sydney. I became very sad in a musical sense. I thought, I don't know what I'm sad for. And then I realised I haven't heard Guns N' Roses for a while. A musical home, Guns N' Roses. So, musical home, Guns N' Roses. So I went back to Appetite. I listened to Appetite, and it felt really good. It felt amazing to hear this album again. I heard it again, and I fell in love with this album all over again. And then what happened was, I was fast forwarding a couple of things here and there. Because while I was not listening to Guns N' Roses, I was listening to like Slayer, Morbid Angel, a little bit of Metallica during the Load era, and a variety of bands, very eclectic in my music sense. Death metal, metal, hard rock, a variety of things. And now, 1999, again after I discovered the internet. 1999, after I discovered the internet, now I found the GNR forum, and for some I got really into it, just reading all the articles, and then because Axel had gone into hibernation, Axel had become a recluse since about 94. 94 onwards, Axel had become a recluse. No one had heard from him. Slash had Snake Pit. Duff eventually had Loaded, and I think Matt Sorum on Snake Pit. I think Matt Sorum was on Snake Pit. Maybe Matt Sorum recorded on Snake Pit but didn't tour. I don't think Gilby Clarke did Snake Pit. No, I don't think he did. I don't think Gilby Clarke didn't do Snake Pit. And what happened was, I found out about Chinese Democracy, which I have. I do have. I don't know where it is. It's probably in that rack. Now, I also have a demo for Chinese Democracy. Where 3 months before the album came out, one of my geek friends came up to me. I think it was Greg. Came up to me and he said, I think this is what you're looking for. And it was a demo copy of Chinese Democracy. Partly grunge sounding in certain parts. The actual title track, Chinese Democracy, on that demo tape sounded a bit grunge. It was a very rough copy of it. But also, previous to this, in 2000, Brazil, Rock in Rio, Brazil, there was most of that concert was captured on audio, and I don't know what. Okay, at the time there was this thing where you get music from, but I don't remember what it's called. Lime something. I don't know what it's called. It took me 2 weeks of downloading or something, and then my sister went over to Europe. She went to this marketplace, and she found it on CD, and she brought it back to me as a surprise, and I was really quite happy about that at the time. And so, but half the set at Brazil was the Chinese Democracy songs. And what we now know as Absurd is Silkworms. It's Silkworms from 2000. It's a leftover, which is not really good enough, is it? But I can maybe get up. I'll get into that later because I'm fast forwarding. So, the GNR forum found it all out. I found out about Chinese Democracy, and for some reason I latched onto that. I don't know why I did this. I regret doing this, but I latched onto it. I keep looking at that light. I latched onto Chinese Democracy, and the fact that something was coming out, and the fact that Axel was doing something, even though that Slash and Duff and Matt Sorum and Gilby Clarke and Izzy Stradlin and Steven Adler, they'd left the building, but for some reason in my brain I latched onto that, and for quite a long time. And it was in the early zeros. I was in the early zeros on and off, because very fortunately for me, I was eclectic in my music, very eclectic. So I listened to a lot of different things. Very fortunately for me, and at the same time, waiting for Chinese Democracy, I think at one point it was going to be called. Axel was going to call it 2000 Intentions, because in 1999 there was this title thrown around of 2000 Intentions. So a long wait, and in 2008 suddenly, with almost no promotion, Chinese Democracy was on the shelf, and I refer to it as the Axl Rose project. Many people do. And there was a thing where Axl did speak about that and said, due to certain circumstances, I'm paraphrasing greatly, in a nutshell, he said, due to certain circumstances, I'm calling this Guns N' Roses because this Guns N' Roses, I'm preserving the brand name, I'm preserving the idea, I'm preserving this, and because this is unique, and therefore that's why it's Guns N' Roses. Almost Guns N' Roses. Chinese Democracy is a very good album. It's got some great tracks on it, and I listened to it when it came out. When I got out, I was listening to it constantly, and in between this, I most of the time go back to Appetite. In fact, I think from about 2002 onwards, I was not hearing the Illusion albums, the usual Illusion albums. I wasn't hearing them. I was focusing on Appetite when I was listening to GNR. That was my focus. And the last time I heard Chinese Democracy was in 2012, because in 2012 I was listening to Chinese Democracy constantly, and I haven't heard it since. Not heard it since, but from time to time, every now and then, I have looked up Better live and watched Better, but Better is probably my favourite track off the album. So as is If the World and Catcher in the Rye, and There Was a Time, there's Shackler's Revenge, and Shackler's Revenge, There Was a Time. Can't remember the others off the top of my head. If the World, maybe that's my favourite track. Oh, This I Love. Is it a song called Prostitute? Is there? And If the World, that's my favourite track. It makes me think of Las Vegas for some reason, If the World. Now, and so I haven't listened to Chinese Democracy since. I didn't listen to the Illusion albums for 15 years. For a very long time I've not listened to the Illusion albums at all. Maybe 20 years since I've been listening to the Illusion albums now. I'll tell you what should have happened was that, first of all, this is an astounding album. This is an astounding album. Make sure I'm recording it. Now, this is an astounding album. It's captivating. It's engaging in every way. It's captivating in every way. It perfectly captures the grittiness of Los Angeles, of Hollywood in the late 80s, of that particular scene. It captures it in every essence. It engulfs you, and you can feel it all. The flow of this album it has a flow to it. There is no filler track. Nothing is filler. It flows very smoothly. You know, I heard it a few months ago. I went back to it after not hearing it for a while. Beautiful. Very nice flow to it. Cannot be said for the Illusion albums, which should have been one album. Now, a few months ago, I saw Axl when I think Axl came out here in 2011. I think he came out here in 2013 or 14. No, not 14, 13. When he came out here, when it was his band, I saw it. So they were quite good actually. And DJ Ashba was quite good. And as what was it, Bumblefoot? Hi DJ. I've never been a fan of Frank. I do not like Frank Ferrer. Never been a fan of him. Never will be a fan of him. Richard Ford is borderline. Don't exactly like his style. He's borderline. Frank Ferrer, no, not at all. And because I think it was Richard Ford that said, "I know this guy." And the reason why Matt Sorum is not there is because Matt Sorum used to confront Axl often. Axl did not like that, because Matt Sorum was not afraid to confront Axl. Matt Sorum has spoken about it in interviews. He's spoken about it, and Ablas turned up once or twice at gigs, and Axl's like, "What the fuck is he doing here?" And when they were being on during the past 6 years, Atlas turned up once or twice. Story in itself, but what happened was, I saw them in 2017. I saw went with Michelle to see Guns N' Roses 2017. That was fun. It was fun. But my idolising, worshipping of Axl started to fade somewhere around 2015. As you get older in life, you develop a different perspective. I don't think the way I did when I was in my 20s, thankfully. So around 2015, it started, the idolisation started to fade rapidly. Now, I had a big reassessment of things, and I do regret idolising Axl in those early days, really being overzealous about it and idolising him, worshipping him, and it's embarrassing to even admit. But I did that for a very long time, staunchly defended him, even to the point where I was kicked out of a couple of private parties because I would voice my opinion on things, and it was very, very 180 degrees to what other people thought about things, and they'd say, I think it's time for you to leave, mate. I think it's time for you to piss off. And a couple of women would be nasty, and they said, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to fuck off now. And I staunchly defended, and I regret holding steady to that point of view, because but we do these things in life. Back in August, I thought, I'm going to have a listen to the Illusion albums, see how I go with them. And I'll tell you what, they can be condensed to, what was it, Dust and Bones is okay, Dust and Bones, The Garden of Eden, Bad Apples is okay, a Locomotive. Some of these tracks can be reduced to about 3 minutes in length. Dead Horse is okay. What happened? I think what should have happened was that 2 albums. Still put it as 2 albums, but the second album should have had Civil War, Live and Let Die, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Don't Cry, and then the first album just Bad Apples, Dead Horse, The Coma. Throw that on the second album. Coma's fucking long. And mind you, I used to enjoy all these songs. I can't, you've been so played on the radio, you've been so, and November Rain on the second album too. So Far and Estranged on the first. Right Next Door, Dustin, okay. So Shotgun Blues, which is not quite bearable anymore. Shotgun Blues, pretty tied up, if I can handle. Estranged, love Estranged. So Fine is good. Can't handle Don't Cry. So okay, so a few months ago now I watched GNR Live the Ritz 1988, and I thought, you know what, I'll get through 10 minutes of this, because that big reassessment. And also, Axl's voice is not the same as it once was. In fact, a really bad time for Axl's voice was the Illusion tour. It's almost as though Axl was a product of the studio. And so a few months ago I watched GNR. I got through it all the way through it. It's just a fantastic concert. It's a gig. GNR Live at the Ritz, 88. In their prime, down and dirty. It's really, really good. And GNR Live at the Ritz 91, which is now on YouTube. Fun to watch. I've watched it a couple of times. Fun to watch. Interesting, curious. It's interesting to watch. It's a bit fascinating to watch it. Slightly cringe-worthy in places. My battery's extremely low. It conked out before, so I probably missed a whole bunch of things. So what should have happened when they got back together in 2014? Duff / Axl, when they got back together, reunited in 2014, 6 months later, should have done an album. They should have put an album out. It was absurd. Is a reworking of Silk Worms. It's a rip-off. It's nothing but a rip-off now. No new original material, and all the original material that Axl has and still hasn't is still in his vault. It's not good enough. None of it's good enough. Rehashing old songs. And when they got together in 2014 again, they should have put an album out 3 months later. Just got in the studio, put it out 6 weeks, album out. They wouldn't do it that way. They should have done it. And it's all not good enough. And Guns N' Roses tomorrow. Actually excited about it. Seeing them tomorrow. Actually excited. Well, I'll be excited about it. Axl and Duff. I'm not excited about Frank Ferrer. I've never been excited about Frank Ferrer. I'll never be excited about Frank Ferrer. Don't like Frank Ferrer at all. There's no drama. And that line has to be renewed. I think I've got a battery in that. Now, and also, that's what should have happened. Absurd. The lyrics to absurd, which is actually Silk Word from 2000. Lyrics are fucking terrible. They're fucking awful lyrics. GNR are not in their 20s anymore, so I don't know why they're lyrical wise. And the thing is a new GNR album relevant now? Is a new Guns N' Roses album relevant? No, it's been too little, too late. It's not relevant. And when you've got other bands that are putting out an album every... Oh, that's what I was going to say. Now, another point of reassessment was when Slash 4 came out. Slash's latest solo album, Miles Kennedy. Miles Kennedy, I'm not into him at all, really. Not into him. I've seen him live, and if he is good, Miles Kennedy has a good voice, yes. Doesn't have that edge though. And Slash 4, I've heard Slash 4 about what I was in great anticipation of it actually. Slash 4, I heard it. The River is Rising. It was okay. And then the second time I heard River is Rising, it grew on me more. And okay, so the rest of the album falls completely flat. And the thing is, I did a lot of promotion for it. I did a lot of interviews for it. They went around the circuit on it, promoting it. And Slash 4. Yeah, that's right, Slash 4. And I've heard the I heard the album through it was in great anticipation. When a band does too much promotion for an album, something's up, because they shouldn't have to over promote an album. Shouldn't have to over promote it. I did a lot of interviews. They did a great deal of things for Slash 4. The album falls flat for me. It falls completely flat. I heard it was the biggest disappointment of this year actually, because there's anticipation for it. It's not captivating, and the reason why it's not captivating is because there's Miles Kennedy's lyrics. I would prefer it if Slash wrote the lyrics, but Miles took on lyrics, writing lyrics, and I prefer it if Slash wrote the lyrics. Because Miles' lyrics are a bit sappy. They're a bit sappy. And so that was the first. Well, this was going to go. Listen. This is how the Illusion album should have been. I'll tell you how the Illusion album should have been. Right next door to Hell. Dustin Burns. Live and Let Die. Don't need to hear that ever again. Don't Cry. No. Perfect Crime. Okay, yeah, Perfect Crime. You ain't the first. No. Bad Obsession. Back Off Bitch. Double Talking Drive. No. November Rain. Never left it. Never want to hear it again. The Garden. It's okay. Garden of Eden. Don't Damn Me. Yep, that's alright. Bad Apples. It's okay. Dead Horse. It's okay. Coma. Too Long. No. Right. Who's Illusion 2? Let's look that up. Yeah, just Who's Illusion 2, here it is. Civil War, never have to hear that ever again. Great song, that should go on the second album. 14 years. Yeah, it's okay. Yesterday's. Yeah, I don't mind Yesterday's. Knock on Heaven's Door, I never really need to hear it ever again. However, they can go on the second album. Get in the Ring, no. Shotgun Blues, not really, no. Breakdown, no. It's okay. Pretty tied up. Yeah, pretty tied up. Locomotive. I don't think Locomotive needs to go for 8 minutes and 42 seconds. That could be at about they can take that down to about 5 minutes. So Fine, yes. A Strange, yes. You my favourite song off that album. Don't Cry, no. Never need to hear it again. My World, meh. Okay, so you've got Condensed. So I think what somebody should do, and it's ironic. As soon as I had my reassessment, I sat down and I listened to those Usual Illusion albums. I listened to them as soon as I did that, and I was like, this can be condensed to one album, but for the sake of things, because those other songs are part of popular culture, make it 2 albums. So all those other songs, including November Rain, Don't Cry, it's Civil War, Live and Let Die, and just all the ballads on the second album, the stronger one, not the more the rocky, on the first album. So you have those ones I pointed out in the first album. I think it's ironic what happened, because that super deluxe Use Illusion box set has come out. And I think what someone really needs to do, and maybe Bob Rock or a fan, maybe just a fan, someone who knows what they're doing, needs to get these source tapes, the master tapes from somewhere in the Sentimental Valley, go into a studio and remix them from scratch. Make them 3 to 4 minute songs, maybe 3 to 5 minute songs. The Strange can still go for as long as it does. Remix them, take all the sugar coating off them, put them together as one album. Make it 2 albums, as I said, with all those ballads there and with all the other stuff here. But The Strange can go on the first album, so it could be so fine. Right? Remix them all. And it's ironic that Super Deluxe box set came out Colo, because I just had my reassessment, and then 2 weeks later the box set was announced. I thought it was a little bit funny. I thought it was a bit ironic. Now, so, okay, this is great, isn't it? This is fantastic. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Oh, there's the tape. There's the tape. There you go. There's the tape. Now, so a new Guns N' Roses album. I used to be keen on it, and I'm no longer keen or excited. When it actually comes out, I will probably listen to it. Don't think it's that bad. Matt Sorum should be on it, and Adler should be on it, and Frank Ferrera should be nowhere to be seen. And as for Richard Fortus, I found him tolerable over the years, but when he first started with actually like, couldn't handle him at all. Didn't like his style. I've very fortunately over the years I've been extremely eclectic with the music that I've listened to. So therefore I was listening to a lot of other bands, a great deal of other bands. Fortunately, very fortunately, that was my saving grace. And I'm glad that I'm no longer obsessed by Guns N' Roses. It's sentimental to me. They are sentimental to me. And I love watching GNR. Occasionally I can watch GNR live at the Ritz because it's a great concert. And this new one, 1991, the Ritz, interesting. I've watched it a couple of times. I went to watch it the other day and I couldn't quite get through it. But My Michelle is very interesting on that My Michelle. And oh, I was going to say before. Look, this is my favourite bandana. This is my favourite bandana. See, this is my favourite bandana. I love wearing it. Actually, I'm going to put it in there. Look, this is my favourite bandana. I love wearing it. I love wearing it. I love wearing it. I'm trying to show you. Look. Actually, so a new Guns N' Roses album at this point, it should have come out about 8 years ago. It should have been here about 8 years ago. Really not relevant anymore. When you got other bands out there who are making albums consistently every couple of years. Not another band that puts out an album every 1 or 2 years. Bands that put out albums consistently, and that's what I like, and that's really good. And I said to myself, because I've been meaning to do this video for a while, I keep doing my every now and then, I like to get down to the GNR video, and down to the garage and do the GNR video. And today I thought, you know what, I'll do it before I concert, I'll do it before I get it. So yes, now, new Guns N' Roses album. No, but I can always enjoy Appetite. I will always be able to enjoy Appetite. Always be able to enjoy Appetite. Not really the Illusion albums. I can handle 5 songs in total of them. 5 songs. And considering that a lot of the songs on the Illusion albums are just left over from the Appetite era. Some of those songs, like Bad Obsession, was written. Don't Cry was the first Guns N' Roses song written. Bad Obsession was written around the time of Brownstone. All these songs were written before Appetite was recorded. And I'm actually looking forward to the gig tomorrow. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it. I had a bit of a dilemma over it, but we're gonna go. And for the last time. It's going to be the last time. Okay. Last time. Actually, the Guns N' Roses are here in Australia now. They're here in Sydney. Actually, they're here in Sydney, and here in Sydney today. And then they go across to Adelaide, and they go back to Melbourne, and they go to New Zealand, and then they return to the States. It's interesting because Rose Tattoo are not opening. Rose Tattoo usually open for GNR, but Rose Tattoo are not doing that this year. They're not opening for GNR. They're not opening. They usually do, but they're not. Is there anything else that I wanted to say? Is there anything else I want to say? Oh, just that. Oh, this shirt. Okay, 2005. I went to Broadway. In 2005, I went to Broadway Shopping Centre. Broadway Shopping Centre, corner of City Road. In 2005, when they had HMV was still there. HMV was still there, and this was $30. It was the last one they had when they had the T-shirt right there, and this was $30. It's $30. Bought in 2005, and very proud of it. So I am, and it was the last one on the shelf. I grabbed it. I said to the girl, I said, she said, that's the last one. And then HMV closed down 2 months later. And so I've had this since 2005. And I tell you, it's been through the ringer. It's been through the ringer. And probably going to wear this to the gig tomorrow. I thought, what am I going to wear? What am I going to wear? Should I be obvious or not obvious? And I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to wear this. And so I wear something which is not GNR orientated and just, you know, I wear it. Yes. Okay, so appetite for destruction. So yes. Okay. So I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah. I'm a bit. I've covered everything. I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Okay. Wanted to say those things.